We're up.
Okay.
We're up.
I think it may have been my aunt and uncle who were avid travelers and had been out west, and we
were
wanted.
looking at possible internship places.
No, that was the second one. The first one.
First one too.
Well, I don't remember that. I just remember that the first summer I worked in a lab, and this was the second summer, between the second and third year of medical school, which I had a couple of months off, 2.5 months off maybe. And so we saved up for it during the year, acquired some camping gear, and had tent, cots, sleeping bags, stove, all that sort of stuff that we loaded up this 59 Opel with. And with my aunt and uncle, we worked out a route across the northern part of the U.S. to the West Coast, down the West Coast, Southern California, and then back across the Southwest to see some of the major national parks along the way and whatever. So it was a big adventure, and we loaded everything up and took off. Matter of fact, the car was so overloaded that it was unstable. And we're swaying. We're on the interstate going south. We were going to go to Columbus and across to Indianapolis to visit a former fraternity brother of mine on the way. And it was swaying so much that I got frightened. So we looked for a Buick dealership. I remember we pulled off the interstate at Lodi and found a Buick dealership. Who were the ones who took care of Opels, and went there and explained the problem. They said, "Oh yeah, your shock absorbers can't handle this. We can put overload springs around your shocks." I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah." And they did. They had them there, and essentially it was a big spring that went around the shock, fit into the brackets that were already there, stabilized the whole thing. We were fine. So we went on from there, cruising mostly back roads and heading up into Wisconsin dairy country. Yeah, I think so, and then across. Yeah. Camping most nights. When we didn't camp, we wanted a real shower and a real bed. We would try to find a mom and pop motel. We could generally find a room for $10. This would have been in 1963.
$6.
Yeah, that was the best we had.
Mm-hmm.
But if we wanted a swimming pool in the Southwest, we had to pay 10 or 11. And that was quite an experience for us. We were on the road for 10 weeks. One problem we had, let's see, we got to, I think it was Washington State, and we burned a valve in the car. The engine started making all kinds of noise and not working. So again, stopped at a Buick dealership, and they said, "Yeah, you need a valve job. A couple new valves and grinding the others." And so I remember the price was more than we could really afford. We had very limited money. And when we were sitting talking to the service manager about this, and he mentioned what it would cost, Ardith began to cry. And she said, "We can't afford that. We won't be able to finish our trip, And the guy looked at it and said, "All right, I'll knock 25% off." Yeah, we stayed in San Francisco, I think, for 3 or 4 days to see all of that, and it took a third of our budget for there. This was at a time when gasoline was 35-40 cents a gallon, and we were in a little 4-cylinder, relatively efficient car. So anyway, we spent a lot of time in a lot of national parks, camping, and had really a very good time.
Ardith? Ardith, would you like to talk with me a little bit about the trippy?
About
The trip. Your recollections of the trip.
of the church?
The trip.
The
Of
trip.
the trip.
The trip. We're
The
gonna.
trip.
This is your
The
Okay.
camping trip.
yeah your thoughts on it.
Well, I remember that the first night out was a total disaster. We ended up collapsing the tent on us because there were huge winds. It was a tornado warning, I think.
Tent.
We were in a regular tent, and we were in a private campground. So we had a place, a picnic table and a place for the tent, and we did something for dinner. I don't remember what. We probably set everything up and then drove off to get dinner or something.
I imagine, I don't know.
And when we
Okay.
came back, the clouds were moving in, the wind was picking up. And so we locked up the car and battened down the tent and got inside. But what we found out later was that the owners of the campground had come around and warned everyone that there was a huge storm coming, there were tornado warnings, and they should all take shelter in the main building they had. But we never got that warning. So when the storm hit, it threatened to just tear the tent off. Now the tornado didn't come through, but the winds were pretty fierce. And so we were standing inside, holding the tent down, trying to keep the flap covered so that, the rain wouldn't come pouring in. And it was pretty clear. I got to the point where I said, I can't hold it anymore. There was a center pole. There's a center pole and 4 poles that fit together in the fabric to hold the tent up. It was a fairly simple, very workable combination. And I said, I can't hold it. So we took the center pole out and just pulled the tent down on top of us. So we're lying in this bunched up canvas with our stuff inside and the tent draped on top of us. Those storms come fairly quickly and they leave fairly quickly. So I don't know how long it lasted, but once
But
it
we
was
were
gone,
wet.
we were wet.
We were wet.
So we eventually were able to put the tent back up and sort things out and get to sleep. I do have a picture of us, I think, sort of smoothing out the tent as we pack up in the morning. One thing we noticed was our car had gotten pretty dirty. But when we got up that morning and looked outside, it's like it had gone through a car wash. I mean, the wind-driven rain really acted like a heavy hose and just washed it off. So that was a nice introduction.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this trip?
Well, the trip itself was fantastic once we got through that first night, because I had not traveled anywhere west. So we were in national parks. We were along the western coast from Washington down to California, seeing lots and enjoying lots. I think one of the funniest things was our
I know what you're
artichoke experience, because neither of us had ever had an artichoke, but we were in California artichoke country and we were camping. So we asked the people who sold the artichokes what to do, how to cook it. They told us how to cook it.